Goalies, how's it going? I stole the intro from Mr. Nathan Park. How's it going?
That's a
Welcome back.
curveball. That's a
That's
curveball.
hey, I'm running the studio today. I get to call the shots. How's it going, goalies? Welcome back to the DIY Goalie Podcast with your host Nathan Park and Connor Monday. We we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants on this one. Um, we have we do have it is going to be just a quick short episode today. Hopefully everybody's doing well in their seasons so far as we enter into the early weeks of November at the time of recording this. We do want to bring a couple of segments to you guys this episode. One being a question that was posed to me by a goalie parent 2-3 weeks ago, and then our drill of the month segment. I don't know if we got much feedback on it, but hopefully somebody did take some learning points from that drill and was able to apply it to their practices as we have our next drill of the month here, which is the 5-color vermicelli bowl, which we'll get into in a minute. Nathan, how's it going? How are the sessions going at the facility and on ice? You're actually preparing to go to Grimshaw this weekend at the time of recording this. So how's that going?
Yeah. Basically came home from kids swimming practice or swimming lessons and then watched our billet kid play a game. Now we're recording this, and then I'm going to pack and leave very early tomorrow morning. And you know what? That's okay. Wouldn't have it any other way. We're changing some lives up in northern Alberta.
Better better you than me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not much of a travel person. I mean, I've probably said this in other podcasts, but like I refuse to travel with my junior team. So
There
um,
you go.
I just was not the case here today. Nathan's changing it up on me like I changed it up on him, and he's going to present the drill of the month segment,
Yeah,
and I will
Connor is
be
going to screen share it, but I
I
am going
will
to
screen
present
share it.
it
Yes, I will do that. I
because
should probably do that actually right now.
it
So if
is.
you're
Oh, I was going to say it's a personal favorite of mine. So for those of you,
much like the Tennessee two step was mine, so
yeah,
I totally get it. Well, if you are watching on the YouTube side of things, as you guys can see here on our screen, we do have the 5-color vermicelli bowl. Nathan, walk
yeah.
us through it.
So yeah, we'll put it up in the show notes too for those of you who cannot see. This was one that I kind of created when I first started learning about cognitive training being a thing and being beneficial. And so I named it the 5-color vermicelli bowl because it's 5 colors, and I am a big sucker for vermicelli bowls when I have an opportunity to get some Vietnamese food. So it just seemed to fit because there's 5 pylons set up in a semicircle shape, so they kind of make a bowl shape. So you can do this with a net, you can do it without a net, it doesn't matter, but it kind of simulates a crease pattern. And basically, what you do is you kind of start on the top, set on the top cone, and the coach calls out a color, and you push to the color that was called out, and then back to the top. You can do this with T pushes. You could do this with T push recoveries. You could do it with slides, with inside edge pushes. But basically, the point behind it is that the goalie has to use their eyes, find the right color, make good rotations to that color, but it also makes them think a little bit. So it makes them take that visual cue, I guess, or visual information, process it, and be able to then translate it into a movement. So it kind of adds not only the skating portion of things, but also the cognitive portion of things. So what I also do for my goalies is if I yell the color that's at the top. So in this instance, particularly on the screen, it's green. So if I were to yell green, the goalie would drop into their butterfly and back up. So what I do after I do one color is I go to 2 colors. So I have to yell the 2 colors. The goalie has to push to 1, 2, and then back to the top. And then I go to 3 colors so that it really makes them have to think, have to process that information, and do all that good stuff. So you can do it with different colored pylons, which is what we do. You can do it with different colored pucks. If you do have a goalie who is like colorblind, or if you don't have colors available to you, you can always number. Like, you can put pucks in a semicircle and number them too. Numbers work just fine. But basically, it's just a skating element with the cognitive element, and just working on good head rotations, body rotations, and working on that skating that pretty much every goalie out there needs to work on. So that's the gist of it. It's a nice, simple drill, but I think it puts in a lot of elements. It's good for warm up. It's good for middle of the practice, whenever. So I think it's quite a versatile drill, and it's one of my favorites to do with the goalies we work with.
No, I really like this one when we did it at our adult camp back in August. Because I kind of took a little bit of a different approach with this. Is that instead, like, yes, this is simulating crease pattern, but essentially these pylons are representing pucks, right? And
Yeah.
so you want to make sure that we get square to the puck, and especially for kind of like the younger kids, when we do bring out the cones, not just for this drill in particular, but for any. But like you had me do the kind of rotation one in like a square last week in our weekly set. Um, it was kind of the same idea where you want to make sure that you get your head on the color that you're going to, and that you bring your body across correctly, and making sure that that cone is basically kind of in between your feet, as if you were getting square on, or as if you were getting set on the puck. This one is a very good one because you can call out a whole bunch of different colors and get a lot of crazy movements in. But as long, again, as you're moving with purpose, and you're really hyper fixating on tracking that color, and making sure that we're bringing our head again down towards, around our body, towards where the whatever cone it is that we're trying to get set up on, to make sure that we get square to that movement. So I totally understand why you like this one.
Yeah. And just to Connor's point, remember that when we do those rotations, we want to look around our elbow so we stay nice and low and not over the shoulder, which pulls us up. So look around the elbow, rotate to get fully square to the cone, make that nice angled push to get set properly on that cone, and get some visual processing going. So we'll link that up in the show notes. We've got the description of it. There is, I think, a video of it too, although I don't know if that translates on the PDF. Probably not. But I'll also link up the YouTube video that we have on this drill as well, so that you guys can see it in action. So we each have a little bit of a segment to go through today. So we'll let Connor kind of go through the first one here, and then I'll finish off with a little quick segment as well. And
Whoa! Who said you get to have two segments?
Well, the drill of the month is not technically a segment.
Well, yes, it is.
Well, it
Kinda,
is,
sorta.
but that one's shared.
Fair enough. It's a joint effort.
Yeah.
So this question was posed to me when I was doing a private session a couple of weeks ago, and it kind of threw me off guard with the way that they worded it. And I'm trying to be very careful with how I explain this. Essentially, they had asked me, kind of for context, rather, this goalie's like, I think he's U9, U11, somewhere
Yeah,
along
it'd be
there.
U9.
Yeah, U9. And so, which for the older folks would be about novice Adam level. I think novice, actually.
Novice. Yeah.
Novice, okay. And the parent had asked me, when it comes to having two goalies on the team, um, kind of what to do about rotations and who gets what playing time and everything else. And so the story goes is that when they were brought on to the team, I think they were promised like a game, I think it was half a game. Um, was the promise that the team had made, and so the other goalie parent that was on the team also so happens to be the quote unquote goalie coach that's on the team, which is fine, dandy. And so what happens is that now the goalie parent of the other goalie decides, no, we're not going to split games anymore. We're going to play full ice games. They're they're gonna do full ice. They're gonna do that. And then I guess, and I'm paraphrasing here, and I could be totally wrong on this part, is that I guess that goalie wasn't doing so well playing full games, and then they decided to go back to half and half. And then it goes now that the goalie coach decides, oh, these kids should be battling for their ice time. Keep in mind, these are like novice kids. These are U9 goalies. And so now this goalie coach has suggested that no, like these kids need to compete for their ice time. They need to do this, and that. And when I heard that, in the back of my mind, I just went, what the bleep? What the bleep? That's wild to me. To add more context, this is one of those unsanctioned Hockey Canada, Hockey Alberta leagues. And it's the minds. I understand the mindset that this coach was going for, or that this goalie parent was going for, but it wasn't what I think it should be at this level. So, which ended up posing the question in my head is that what do you do as a goalie parent? Doesn't matter whether it's at that level or whether it's at any other level. How do you deal with kind of off ice drama when it comes to who should be getting what playing time? I've had plenty of experiences myself coaching junior hockey where I've had one goalie ask me why he isn't getting enough ice time, or why is this goalie getting more ice time than I am, and generally I just say it's up to the coach at that point. But it's for me, and what I told this goalie parent was that at the level that this kid was playing at, despite it being a non-sanctioned Hockey Alberta, Hockey Canada league, regardless of the fact they're still 9 years old, and so the development is still going to be there. There's no AA or AAA team for kids at 9 years old. This is just another option to play hockey, maybe at a little bit of a higher level, maybe at a little bit of at a higher pace than what you would normally see in house hockey or in regular hockey with Hockey Alberta, Hockey Canada. But it was still still at the end of the day, these kids were 9 years old. So I had suggested to them, it's like, hey, when I played full games up until I had a backup, or a goalie partner, rather, I should say. And then we ended up deciding to split games. And either way, I was totally fine with it. I could go, honestly, either or with it. But I think the idea, and maybe we're going to ruffle some feathers, the ideology of introducing these kids got to compete for their ice time at 9 years old was just absurd to me. And I told him, like, no, you gotta speak up about that, which I guess the goalie parent had before, the one that asked me the question, but was kind of brushed off as I don't want to say non-negotiable because that wasn't the right word, but it was just brushed off as
not a big deal.
You don't know what you're talking about, essentially. So the question is that how do you deal with that stuff off the ice, whether it doesn't matter what level that you play at? And I kind of gave my answer for that particular level, and we can give answers for each particular level right up to juniors. I think juniors is definitely more competitive, and that's where you want to introduce the competing for ice time aspect of it, which I totally understand at that level. But even then, I have a problem with that as well, because what I see as a goalie coach could be completely different than what the coach sees, because the coach will always have biases towards one goalie over the other. saw that a lot in the last couple of years that I coached juniors. But so had to, but again, for the other levels, U9, U15, U11, U18, how do you deal with that? And I don't want to say I don't know, but I think it's also just a case by case basis as well.
Yeah, the big thing is obviously first things first, you go through the appropriate channels, right? Like, so talk directly to A, the goalie coach, or B, the regular coach, or both, or whatever the case is. If there's still issues after that, then you try and escalate throughout. The problem is you can run into the situation where they don't really care. And unfortunately, and this is not just a hockey problem, although in Canada it's very prevalent in hockey because it is such a popular sport, but the politics behind things, and like a lot of the times talent doesn't matter as much as it being a popularity contest, and that's kind of the unfortunate side of things, right? Now obviously not everybody is like that. There's a lot of good people out there that will take the best kids possible and will do their best to actually put in proper development channels and stuff like that in place, but unfortunately that's not always the case. So run through your regular channels, work up to talking with the coaches, talking with your organization, moving up the ranks. And if you're still not getting where you want to go, it's one of those things that you kind of have to do what you have to do to look out for yourself and your kid. And if that means sticking it out for the year and then finding another team. And in the meantime, you're getting private goalie coaching or going to the ODR or going to public skates, working on your skills, whatever the case is. At least then you're still getting something out of the season. A lot of it's a mindset thing too. Yes, you can be in a crappy situation, but there's still an opportunity to develop and to get better, even if people aren't giving you the full opportunity to do so. You got to take the mindset of, well, how can I do what I can with what I've been given? And then hopefully move yourself into a better situation, if it doesn't get rectified. Because vendettas happen for whatever reason. Coaches don't like certain kids or their parents or whatever the case is because of X, Y, or Z. Um, so unfortunately, these things happen. And if talking to people and having proper communication doesn't help, do what you can on your end to keep getting better and try and find yourself a better situation as early as you can. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of goalie parent groups out there too that you can get advice from. There's a lot of people that have been in similar situations. So if this is resonating with you, reach out, ask for what other people's experiences have been. They might give you ideas that you haven't thought about, for your specific situation. That's a good way to go about it, because I find, you know, I was a goalie, I'm a goalie coach, but I have yet to be a goalie parent. Part of me is hoping I never am a goalie parent, but we'll see. But
Yeah,
so
good luck with that.
honestly, there's gaps in my experiences with that. So I don't always have a great answer for these parents because I don't have experience to draw on. So sometimes these forums or these groups or whatever you want to call them are a good way to kind of try and get some input from somebody who might have been there. So that's another way to go about it too. But roll with the punches as best you can. Do what you can to stick up for yourself and communicate with the parties involved. And that's kind of the best you can do, right? Like we tell our goalies all the time, you can't control certain things. You just focus on the controllables, and if you're in a bad situation with your coaching staff, do what you can to, take the development opportunity that you get, roll with the punches, show up with a smile on your face, do your best to get better, and then find a better situation as soon as you can. So,
jumping on the kind of the experiences aspect of it, I think you probably have a leg up. Well, you and I might have equal footing, but I think you have a little bit of a leg up on me. I'm only 26 years old. I don't have kids.
you call me old.
Yes. So it's easy for me to sit here and say, stand up for yourself and, roll with the punches and, don't take shiza from nobody and everything of the sort. It's easy for me to say that. It's harder to actually put into practice because again, I don't have a kid.
Well, and there's always that fear too that it makes the situation worse, right?
Oh,
so
100%.
I think that's what people are worried about.
Yeah, no, 100%. And if I can tell a quick story, and I think I've told this story before, is long and the short of it. When in my last year playing U18. Second last year playing U18, was tiered in a spot so much lower than I played in years prior, and that was because the quote unquote management of this organization kind of flip flopped between two organizations because they merged together around U18, and so the current management of the organization was basically the management that I had left my previous minor hockey league team to go join another minor hockey league team. And so long and the short of it is that they tiered me in the wrong spot and were almost essentially refusing to kind of budge on their position until eventually it got to a point where I had told my parents, I said, let me go and have a chat with them. And because it was more so the fact that I was tired of obviously it wasn't going anywhere with mom and dad. I thought maybe if I speak up, then maybe there's a little bit more of a chance, a little more of a leeway, because being 13, 14, 15 years old, you kind of don't necessarily have a filter still yet, so you can kind of still call out BS when you see it. And so eventually it did end up getting tiered or placed in a higher tier than I need, and then a place in a higher tier that I wanted to be in, play with my friends as well. And but still, the point of that story being is that you got to keep fighting. And again, it's easy for me to say, but we had to. It was 3 grueling months of pushback and forth and until I was able to finally be on a team that I was supposed to be on from the start of it. So
just be professional about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%. So again, I'm a big believer nowadays, and I'm kind of a little bit of a hypocrite in the same spot, where you made a commitment to the team that you're on. You chose to sign up with this team and or whatever the organization that you're with. And so I'm a big believer of sticking it out to the end of the year and then reevaluating come next year. Again, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite in that sort because I did leave my junior A team with junior B team with 10 games left in the season, but that was because of external circumstances that kind of weren't avoidable. But besides the point, so it's at the end of the day, it's also just what is going to make you, but more importantly, your child happy. Obviously, if your child's getting constantly bullied on the team, and then and that you've done everything that you can to alleviate the situation, it's not working, then absolutely, totally understandable, because no child deserves to be bullied in a sport that they love. Nathan, but
Jeez.
Shots fired. The point, but in all seriousness, though, is that you are going to come across tough situations in sport, and you are going to be put in I don't want to say uncomfortable situations, but less than favorable situations, and it's all just a matter of how you handle it. And so I told, and I think I said this earlier already, but I told the goalie parents, like, chat with the other coach, chat with the coaching staff, and see if you can get that resolved. Otherwise, then yeah, you'll want to start going towards higher ups, but that should be not necessarily last resort. Because yeah, it was just absurd to me at 9 years old that this parent had decided that yeah, these kids need to start competing for ice time at 9 years old.
Yeah,
And
but
I was,
there's plenty of people out there that have
oh
the NHL mentality for
yeah,
U7 kids. So
100%. And I'm not disputing that at all. But still, the fact that there's people out there
it's
that are
sad.
like that, it's saddening. It's
Yeah.
sick and it's saddening, and that's also specifically why I wanted to put this on the podcast today, because I think it needs to be really showcased.
Yeah.
Because I see similar things on the goalie parents Facebook group, and I think I've even seen it in our Facebook group that we run, that you run rather, I
Oh
should
yeah.
say. But
It's pretty, like I said, it's all over the place. It's unfortunate. It's slightly getting better, but um I don't know. It's one of those things, right? A lot of these parents maybe didn't go as far as they think they should have or wanted to or whatever. So now
yeah,
it's time to vicariously live through their kids and they take it too seriously. And it is what it is. Make the best out of your situation. Talk to the people you need to talk to. If that's not working and you really need to, jump ship. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it
yeah,
on that one.
yeah. I don't really have anything else to that. I was thinking about this question on my way home from work today,
No,
and I was thinking, like, I think this needs to be mentioned,
yeah,
because we're not seeing it as much anymore, but the fact that it's still around is kind of, and I basically refuse to interact with these people.
yeah. All right. So with that, I'm going to transition into my segment, which is a little bit more technical, a little less on the emotional side of things. So
You don't want to be
we,
as dramatic as I am, eh?
no, I'm analytical. You're the one that brings the emotional
I
side of
I
things.
I bring the heat. I bring the
Yeah,
heat.
there you go. Connor's spicy.
It's
Um,
these ginger genetics.
yeah, it's the hair. Um, so yeah, so what I wanted to talk about was just like really what goes into making a save, because I think it was Schwartzy that had mentioned this when I was getting coached by him my first year junior. I think he had said something along the lines of um in the whole game you probably only spend 30 seconds actually making a save. And it was a little bit eye opening. And it's kind of like when you think about it, it's like, yeah, I guess so. Like you're really only actually physically making a save for probably about 30 seconds over the course of a 60-minute game.
Speak for yourself. I'm diving all over that net.
I didn't say shots against, that include goals. I said saves. But yeah,
Okay, I
so
deserve that
yeah. But so it kind of really makes you think like, okay, well, if we're only spending 30 seconds of an hour long game in terms of actual playing time, um, what is actually going into making the save? And I don't think people, like even people that are goalies and actively involved in the goalie community, I don't think people really realize just how big of a factor positioning really is. Because one thing I just for fun, and I know I've mentioned this a couple times in like the email list, kind of little articles we do every month, but um an 80-mile-per-hour shot translates to 117 feet per second. And the distance for an NHL sized rink from the goal line to the blue line is 64 feet. So an NHL defenseman who's taking an 80-mile-an-hour shot from the blue line, which really isn't that hard of a shot for an NHL player. Like, it's pretty common for them to be high 80s, low 90s. So an 80-mile-an-hour shot from the blue line is just a little over half of a second to actually react. And so just given the limitations that, like humans have, there's only so quick you can physically react to something. So there comes a point where if the puck is close enough and the shot is hard enough that the goalie physically just cannot react to that puck. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that to get people thinking about how much of your save is actually more positional than anything. Yes, you want to have good reaction. Yes, you want to be tracking good and all that stuff. But the majority of your success is going to happen 3, 5, 10 seconds before that shot even happens. Right. And so, like, this is why it's so important when we talk about making saves out in front of our body, like cutting off that angle. Because if you can come out in front, you have a lot less net coverage, or sorry, a lot less net that's open behind you. You have more net coverage because you're coming closer to that puck. And one of the analogies I like is it's kind of like a light bulb, right? As you get closer to a light bulb with your hand, the shadow on the wall behind your hand gets bigger. So it's the same concept when we're going towards a puck. So the further out your hands are, the closer you are to the puck, the bigger your quote unquote shadow is on the net. So it means you're covering more of that net. So when you guys are setting up for your saves, if you're out in front, if you're in a position to lean your body into the save, if you're square and on angle, if you have proper depth for the situation, these are the things that are going to help you make your saves 95% of the time. Because again, you do not have a whole heck of a lot of time to react to these pucks, right? Like, you know, I don't know, 60, what do you think? 60% of the shots you get are probably, 50% of the zone away from the net. What do you think? Something like that. I feel like the game's gotten a lot more in tight.
Yeah,
and east west.
Yeah, so a lot of the shots that we see nowadays will happen from. I wish you had told me this earlier because I could have pulled up the percentage grid. So let's
Yeah.
see if I can goal.
Well, Zach Hyman alone had like 50 goals inside of the crease last year.
Something along that. No, I don't want save percentage
okay. Well, while
calculator.
you're looking that up,
Yeah,
I'll kind of finish my thing here. But
sure.
like, so with the game getting in tight, with those pucks being in tight, you have even less time to react, even if the shot's only 40 or 50 miles an hour. So it's really important that you guys spend time on setting up properly. So those rotations we talk about on our pushes are massive because they get you square to where you're going and they get you a good angle to push to get into your proper angle when you get to the end. If you stop and you set your feet and you're in position, that again takes less time because now you're not having to physically get set before that shot comes. And then the other thing too is if you're out in front of your body with your hands, your knees are bent, your shoulders are slightly forward. If we're on our angle, if we're square, that's when you guys are going to be able to, make saves by only moving your glove an inch or so. Like that's kind of the important takeaway I guess I wanted for you guys is just that I think people don't appreciate the positional aspect of the game as much as they should.
I'm still struggling to find this, and yeah, I wish you had told me this beforehand.
Yeah,
Um,
my bad.
no, it's fine. Actually, I wonder if Zach Hyman, because he was absolutely nuts last year. Um, Zach Hyman, where he scored goals. This is not going to be a correct news images. No, it's just pictures of Zach Hyman. He's a good-looking guy, but
I don't know. His nose has been broken a few times.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I can't find it, but I guess okay. So I'm on Clearside Analytics here from thanks to InGoal Magazine, and so I don't know if this kind of helps anything at all, but what I'm seeing here is that the top 5 NHL players in terms of quality shooters, Kirill Marchenko for Columbus Blue Jackets, he's had 6 chances, expected goals for 1.65, actual 4 goals, so the performance differential being 0.39. Matt Duchene being another one from Dallas Stars, 10 chances, goals, expected goals for 2.17, actual goals is 6, so the differential is 0.38. Now, I'm not entirely sure if I understand these numbers, but I think trying to translate that to back to what you were talking about again, I wish I'd found this grid. Is that that a lot of those chances are probably coming from hash marks inside, right? The Oilers game where against Dallas, I think it was kind of one of those outliers where Duchene's shot was essentially top of the on the power play, off the face-off, top of the circles, and then just beat Stuart Skinner clean past the glove side, right? So, but again, being the fact that, yeah, a lot of these goals and a lot of these shots, I was just even watching the Toronto Maple Leafs Detroit Red Wings game just a few moments ago, and yeah, a lot of these goals that were happening were coming from 1 or 2 feet away from top of the crease, right? And so the game's getting tighter, so we're not seeing a lot of shots happening from out front or up top rather. We're seeing a lot of them now closer and tight. So that shadow light bulb analogy, I actually really like that. I never even thought about that before. But still, like the same idea. We want to be able to make sure that we're taking up as much net as we can, but we want to make sure that we're doing it in the most effective way possible.
Yeah, and I want to be 100% clear right now. I am by no means advocating for everybody to start blocking like a mid-2000s goalie again. Like, that is not
We need
what
to
I'm
bring
saying.
that back. We need to bring it back. It's going to make it come back.
I cannot stand that. But the big thing is just make sure you guys are getting yourself set properly to make a save. Hands out, shoulders forward, come towards your saves, lean your body, and take straight lines. That's the most efficient way to get from A to B. So spend time
I think I found something.
Getting your positioning right, and it'll help you in the long run. What'd you find?
Okay, so this is from 2 years ago, and we'll link this in the show notes here. But this is an article from Thibault Châtel, How to Scout Goalies with Analytics. And so I'm not going to read the entire article, but what I'm seeing kind of from the, actually, maybe I should read the entire article, honestly. But this is, I think this is from this is definitely from like a European game. This is from SCL Tigers, whoever they are. And they're talking about, I think this guy's name is Ivan Punovs. Punanovs. I think that's his name. So they're talking about so they kind of did like a little bit of a scouting report on him. And so they're talking about like kind of where a lot of his goals allowed were, seems like he kind of got beat mid to high on the blocker side, not a lot on the glove side. But then there's also this interesting grid where a lot of these goals are coming from. And again, if you're watching this on the YouTube side of things, it's interesting. So this is kind of just where like a lot of the shots that Ivan was getting were the shots that a lot of them were coming from. Look at this right here, almost below
What
the
are
hash
the
marks.
lines?
I'm not sure.
Huh.
I'm honestly not sure. Maybe skating and stride. I genuinely don't know. Maybe it's the puck trajectory. I really don't know.
Oh, we position the last 3 touches before the goal. Okay, so it's basically, where the passes came from.
Okay.
So the white are where the passes are. Okay. So yeah, a lot of the red, which is goals, are pretty in tight.
So yeah, so a couple feet off of the so this is kind of what I was looking for. Not exactly what I was looking for. I wanted the percentages, but this is basically what I was looking for here. I'm gonna have to read this article later, but whatever. I completely forgot what we were talking about. But
we're talking about how quick things happen and how much positioning actually plays into making your save.
Yeah, see, there you go. Right, so like this is it here. So if the pass started from wherever it is here, defense down across, and then it kind of gets jumbled up in here. Yeah, but again, these are a lot of where the end results are coming from, and this is a lot of where, particularly in Ivan's case, a lot of the goals were coming from.
Yeah, right. That one is probably a tip. But yeah, so that was kind of my thing. Was I just wanted you guys to really be thinking about how much getting in the right position really helps making those saves. So
I think it's Ivers Punanovs or Punanovs Ivers. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. I didn't mean to, but
yeah. Well,
regardless of that point, I'm totally gonna have to read this article later. And
yeah, that looks pretty cool. I love the statistical side of things. I know you don't, but to me, that's just fascinating.
Okay, I got to defend myself again here because here we go. Sorry, I'm reading now. Is what's up? Squirrel.
Right, read it after.
Yeah, I will. Okay, when it comes to stats, it's not so much that I hate stats. I do hate stats, but I don't hate stats.
Math.
I hate math. No, it's you can't.
Goaltending is all math.
I only teach the position. I don't do math on the position. No, I feel like I need to defend myself here again. Is the fact that I don't believe that stats completely tell a goalie's performance. And so for those who Stuart Skinner again is having a crap year so far. I mean, so are the Edmonton Oilers in general. But and so people are dumping on his stats aren't good. He's not an NHL ready goaltender. He has given up some soft goals this year. I'm not going to deny that at all. But you cannot look at the end result of a game and say this goalie had a 8.88 save percentage and a 3.46 goals against average or whatever, and say that he's a crap goaltender. He's probably not up there, but I wouldn't say that they're a crap goaltender. You got to look at the whole performance.
Okay, here's my argument on
No. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Wrap it up.
Don't ruin this for me.
Here's the thing. It depends on the stats you're using and what you're using them for. If you are strictly using a save percentage to dictate the entirety of a goalie's performance, then yeah, you're gonna have issues with that. Yes, it tells a bit of the story, but not everything. Mm-hmm. It's just what I like to see is stuff like percentages on, parts of the net pucks go in, parts of the ice that they go in, certain situations, and actually diving into the numbers and being like, okay, what can we learn from this to, get better, right? Like, for example, if you pull up a goalie who 80% of their goals against are high blocker, guess what we're probably working on next practice.
Yeah. No, I'm not
so that,
I'm not,
yeah,
I'm not disputing that
is more
at all. That's
about.
Interesting. That's fine. But I mean, again, a lot of what we see on NHL.com is goalie A has a 9.30 save percentage and a 1.26 goals against average, whereas goalie B has a 9.03 save percentage and a 3.46 goals against average. Well, who's the better of the two? Well, if you just look at the stats solely on NHL.com, it's more than likely going to be goalie A, right?
Yeah. No,
but in the actuality of things, it's goalie B. I always equate it to Mike Smith, and I don't have a vendetta against the guy, but I feel like there could have been a lot better goaltenders too that the Oilers could have taken at that time. It was good. It was a good goalie, but still, it was like I couldn't stand the way that he played, but everybody's pumping his tires because his numbers, because of the numbers, really. And it's like, you clearly don't know what you're talking about with the position, but that's besides the point. Anywho, I think we're at the risk of getting myself canceled now. I think we're going to end it here. And yeah, this was obviously a little bit of a quicker episode today. A lot of stuff that we kind of touched on, a lot of rambling. But it was as usual. But this was one of those. This is definitely one of those episodes that where we kind of touched on a whole bunch of different things, and I don't think we've really had a chance to do that in the last few episodes. I mean, we focus on touch on the one subject, and that's kind of all that we talk about, which is fine. But I think having a little bit of dialogue on some different things is exciting. Thank you guys. Sorry,
we do have a few soft leads on interviews too. So, at some point in the near future, there we go. We should be having probably another interview or two coming up. So
okay, that is there's one that I'm really excited for, and this one just need to find a date and time that works for all of us. Yeah. I said this last episode and I lied. I said that I was gonna do some scouting around and try to get people on. I did not do that, so you can fire me now, I guess. Send me back to my cage. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are watching on the YouTube side of things, if you're listening on your podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, iTunes, that's the same thing. iHeart. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys give us a follow and a share. Share with your friends. Share it on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, however it is that you people use social media. And if you are watching us on the DIY Goaltending YouTube channel, please feel free to give us a subscribe. It's always appreciated. Nathan, anything from you?
No, I don't think so. Go out there and
make some saves. See you guys next time.